Texas Governor Greg Abbott vowing to keep busing migrants to sanctuary cities like New York, Chicago, Denver, as border communities continue to call for more federal assistance for the historic numbers of immigrants crossing into the U.S. illegally. Now, if you think about it, the busing really kicked off a national conversation that was not getting widespread attention until it happened. Now, depending upon who you ask, some might call Abbott's actions genius. His critics are calling it cruel. White House columnist for The Hill, Niall Stanage, is here. Niall, thankful to have this conversation with you on a Monday. I think a lot of people are talking about it, but I have to say NGOs and the Biden administration have been busing and flying immigrants from the border to other cities in the U.S. long before Texas's governor did it. Just most didn't report it. NewsNation did. Was it that Abbott, being the firebrand he is, made this issue impossible to ignore?
Yes, I think it was. I think that he really did push this issue to the forefront of the national conversation in a way where it had been more so previously confined to border states. And that's even acknowledged by some Democrats. A congressman by the name of Henry Cuellar, a Democrat from Texas, has noted that it's kind of easier to ignore this issue if it's happening 1,500 miles from you. If migrants are arriving in Chicago or New York or Los Angeles or any of these other cities, then it becomes an unignorable issue. And I think Governor Abbott, whatever the ethical rights or wrongs, has made it unignorable.
Well, I think it's interesting that it felt like a lot of Democratic leaders in Washington, D.C., in New York, they spoke about this, but still, the government didn't seem, the federal government, the Congress didn't seem to budge on reforms. Texas reportedly busing over 75,000 immigrants out of their state since April of last year. Do we know about any real policy changes at all, even on the local level?
I'm not sure about actual policy changes as such, but it has changed the terms of the debate. So we have Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, talking about the possibility that the migrant crisis will destroy New York City. In Chicago, there was an attempt just last week to hold a referendum on whether Chicago should still be a so-called sanctuary city. Now, that proposal for a referendum was voted down on the city council, but it still reflects the way the tectonic plates are beginning to shift on this. We've seen the same thing in a number of other cities and states. The governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, a Democrat, has been quite critical of the Biden administration on this topic.
So we know a lot of Republicans are demanding tougher border security in exchange for that war aid for Ukraine. The New York Times, reporting the negotiations there among senators has been seeing a seismic shift. More on both sides of the aisle want something to be done on the issue of immigration. There's a new Fox poll out that shows 79% of Americans consider the border crisis a major issue. What should President Biden's messaging be, especially in light? I mean, he's been saying, I'm willing to compromise, but does he need to say more, especially ahead of 2024?
It's a difficult topic for President Biden because there's a certain sliver of the Democratic grassroots that don't want tighter border controls and that are more focused on, for example, a path to citizenship for people who are already in the country undocumented. Now, as for President Biden's messaging, I do think this addresses a point you raised a moment ago. There does need to be a greater emphasis on the seriousness of the problem, understanding the problem. The ways in which the rules can be changed are still under negotiation, and those Senate negotiators have kept them largely under wraps. But we think it would be things like toughening the initial screening for asylum, expanding so-called expedited removal, or things of that nature.
It might also include more people to work in those long lines of those waiting for an asylum hearing, because those offices across the country, immigration offices, are completely overwhelmed. We're seeing people who are waiting 2, 3, and 5 years for an appointment. So they're living here unable to work.
Yes, well, that's certainly true. But the Biden administration would argue that in order to do that, you need the funding. And they haven't been able to get the funding for that through Congress.
Yeah, they somehow managed to get a lot of funding for other causes, though. So another conversation to be had at a later date. Niall Stanage, always good to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.